We have more power in this global situation than you can imagine. It's time that we start using it. Here is the secret that we can use to outsmart these controllers. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. Now, the controllers of this planet are few, and we are many. Did you ever wonder why it seems that they have all the power? The answer is simple. It's because they have seized control of our minds. Now, on the surface, it looks like their control is mainly physical, but actually it's not. Their number one means of control is to introduce beliefs into our consciousness through the use of extreme repetition and intimidation. So their chief method of control is quite simply mass mind control. Now, what do you think would happen if no one believed any of their slogans and stories? Well, these slogans and stories would die the very moment that they were uttered, because the stage of their fake reality would have no audience at all. The seats in their theater of the absurd would all be empty. No one would be buying any tickets into their haunted house of nonsense, because that's what they've invited us into. It's a literal haunted house of madness. So what we need to do is to take a step back, a very big step back, because there are multiple mind traps being set for us right now. The number one most important thing that we can do right now is to take back control of our minds. And in a few minutes, I'll show you exactly how powerful that is and why it matters right now. But first, I want to show you a very insidious trap being set for us right now by none other than this guy, who I call Mr. Snake. This guy is so confident about his pretend power that one of his favorite pastimes is to publicly broadcast literally everything these controllers are planning. So now he is attacking our free will in a very clever way. See, you got to give this guy credit for his diabolical genius. Check this out.
Because the easiest people to manipulate are the people who believe in free will. The people who believe that their thoughts and desires and expectations, they reflect some authentic inner self. And they don't question, is this really the case? So much of our expectations and our desires, they don't reflect any inner truth self. They reflect a million manipulations done on us either by external forces or even by internal forces that we know so little about. 99% of decisions don't reflect your free will. They reflect something else.
And then he goes on to say this.
The wrong idea about free will is that I have free will. Any thought that pops in my mind, any desire that I have, this is my free will. It is sacred and it represents something sublime. And this is nonsense. This is not the case. We know today a lot about what's really happening in your brain, in your mind, when you make this choice. And it's increasingly becoming easier and easier to manipulate these choices.
Now, you might say, well, that's pretty obvious, Saratoga. I mean, this is a blatant attack on our will. But there's something far more insidious going on. He's actually using some truthful reasoning to make his case. He uses some reasoning that on a surface level we can't argue with.
We are increasingly acquiring technologies that enable external agents, whether corporations or government or whatnot, to really hack the human mind and manipulate us in ways which were never possible before. But there are people who have the time and the money to get to know you. That's their business. So you now really have competition. If they get to know you a little better than you know yourself, game over. They can manipulate and control you, and you will not even realize it.
He describes how corporations and unseen forces are secretly manipulating our thinking and perception. This is why he says that what we think is free will actually isn't free will. This is why he says that the thoughts that we think are ours were actually put there by other forces. Now, if you look at some of his writings and other interviews, he goes to great length to elaborate on this idea. But what he's really doing is getting you to question yourself, to question how much of yourself you really own. Like, maybe you were wrong when you believed that you have control of your thoughts and feelings. So he's taken a true fact that we are being secretly manipulated by unseen forces, and he's using that fact against us. He's using it to disempower us further and cause us to doubt ourselves. He's very cleverly trying to get us to believe that our power of self-determination is in question, and that we don't really know ourselves after all. There are secret forces who know us better. He wants us to go from thinking that we are in charge of ourselves to believing that we're not in charge at all. And he further undermines us by saying that our belief that we are in charge, that we have free will, can be used against us. According to him, it makes us easy to manipulate. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail about everything this guy says, but let's just say that he's a very articulate and clever little serpent. He weaves a story filled with definite truths and then uses those truths to undermine us further, because we can't really argue with much of what he is saying, but then he weaves the mental trap inside of those truths. This is how he introduces confusion into what we formerly believed was our reality. Let's look at one more quote from Mr. Snake.
Free will, as far as we understand today, is an empty concept that doesn't describe anything in reality or in nature.
Now, I know it might be tempting to say, oh, he's just one guy and he's crazy. We don't have to listen to him. But here's the thing. He is the chief advisor to this guy, Mr. KS, who I call Mr. Dinosaur, who is the head of what I also like to call the Weffers, which is just another name for what is now Controllers Central on this planet. Now, here's the crazy thing about Mr. Snake. I actually think he believes everything he says. I think this is all he knows. And that, my friends, is how you know you're dealing with an alien force. And by the way, did you know that reptilians are known to be masters of mind control? Isn't it interesting that they are so deeply involved with our planet? See, they could actually be the perfect bridge to get us from biology to AI, because it's all about the mind. Let me share with you something that Archangel Michael shared with me. And if you've been following me, you've probably heard me mention this before. He said, you know, of course, the mind creates everything. I mean everything. And then he said, that tree, that body, everything. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking that this is probably what Jesus or Yeshua knew when he was here. And that's why he was able to do all of the things that he did. And he said that we would do even greater things than he did, which is something that we are clearly meant to evolve into. I actually think that that one statement of his is the reason why the controllers created so many religions to worship him. I think they were hoping that we would forget all about that little phrase of his that I just mentioned. They wanted to make sure that we would never, ever, ever try to emulate him. Because see, if we did try to emulate Jesus instead of worship him, if we tried to emulate him, these controllers would be done for. So they created massive institutions designed to show us that we are losers and that the only good thing that Jesus ever did was to get himself tortured and murdered. That's why we're told to worship his mutilated corpse nailed to a cross. It's meant to completely destroy any faith that we might have in ourselves. And the truth is that we don't even know if he was actually killed. See, these controllers lie all the time. Do you know how easy it would be to perpetrate such a lie about back then? With no cameras and no tape recorders, and most people relying on word of mouth to learn about anything. It would make sense for them to totally make up that story and then present it as something good and sacred, because it would totally serve their agenda. It's the perfect recipe for fear, guilt, and intimidation. Let's just take that story and separate it from the Bible for a minute. What you have is the most profound satanic ritual that these controllers could ever imagine. In its simplest form, it looks like this. They say that Jesus was born a human being and represented God's Son in the flesh. And then he was conquered and killed in a horrific blood sacrifice on the cross, which means that God was conquered and killed. We are actually told that God wanted this ultimate blood sacrifice. Is it even believable that it was God's plan to torture and slaughter a divine human being for the good of humanity? This is exactly the kind of ritual sacrifice that Satan demands. Maybe the truth is that Jesus was a manifestation of the infinite creator and was here to show us that this is who we are too. He was trying to demonstrate the power and love that we are all meant to be. He was a living example of the way, the truth, and the light. He was trying to show us how to ascend. The controllers definitely couldn't let that be our focus. So instead, they gave us a very scary image of what happens to anyone who dares to show up in this way. You will be brutally slaughtered, and you, as a child of God, will be conquered. And then they built massive governing institutions called religion to worship the satanic image of his crucifixion. And millions and millions and millions of people have fallen for this mind control trap for many, many centuries. Now, I don't know for sure whether or not Jesus was actually crucified. I don't really know. But that's not the point. The point is all about what the controllers want us to focus on. And I'm sure that this has had a profound subconscious effect on our collective humanity, whether you are a practicing Christian or not. Let's imagine something for a moment. What if the idea of Jesus being slaughtered was never introduced? What kind of light and power might have been unleashed on this planet at that time? And how might that light have spread across humanity over the course of the following centuries? Now, it's been well over 2,000 years since this entity was with us, and we are collectively in exactly the same evolutionary place as before. actually worse, because now we're more divorced from nature than ever before. I really think it's time that we wake up from millennia of mind control, not just the modern technological forms of mind control. Okay, now let me talk about where we are in November of 2022. As I said in my last video, the controllers are really freaking out that so many people are waking up. You know, I actually heard a little while ago that the WEFers were so panicked and so freaked out about everyone waking up that they posted, I think it was a blog or something, and the whole thing was about, I don't know why everybody's talking about us. We're really harmless. We're just a group of nice people making helpful suggestions. I mean, that's all we're doing. In fact, did you know that recently Mr. KS, who I call Mr. Dinosaur, he was recently spotted trying to prove how harmless he really is. So yeah, they're really starting to panic. And this could cause them to try any manner of chaos to disrupt our awakening and put us back into fear and survival. So for those of us who are awake, it's time to go to the next level and restore our power. It's really important to do this now. It's time for us to disrupt them mentally instead of always allowing them to disrupt us. I think that this is the absolute best position that we can take at this time. We can start by understanding that their chief method of control is to control what we think and what we believe. We need to start controlling what they think and what they believe, because they are doing everything possible to get us to believe that we are losers and that we don't belong on this planet. They portray us as disease-carrying, climate destroyers who don't deserve to live. This is how they justify their destruction of us and get us to play along. But, you know, I actually think it's kind of time to turn the tables on these characters. See, we do have the power to disrupt them mentally. We do have the power to cast the same doubt in their minds that they habitually do to us. Are you starting to see how this works at metaphysical levels? It's all a mind game, you guys. If we broadcast an energy that we're not buying what they're selling, that's gonna freak them out even more, because they understand energy and they can feel it when they're losing. They know when they're losing control. And that is what they fear the most. They fear losing control of our minds and our consciousness. It's not the physical control that they fear losing. Physical control follows mind control. So physical control is actually easy for them. Just grab hold of people's minds with fears and lies, and you have them physically doing your bidding. Look at the past few years if you want a great example of that. But once they lose control of our minds, then their entire plan falls apart. Now, this should make you very happy, because hopefully you can see how simple this really is. Hopefully you can see how much power we actually have. Our power lies in repossessing our minds. See, these controllers are not creative. That's why their plans are so stupid. They're detached from nature, and they're detached from the real laws and principles of the universe. So they make up all of this stupid stuff to convince us that they know something. Stupid stuff like blocking out the sun to disempower us physically. And by the way, did you know that these guys are cosmic criminals? They are actually interfering with the natural workings of our solar system. The Earth and the sun have a deep priority relationship with each other. The Earth is a planet in this sun's solar system. But these crazy people think that they have a right to interfere in that relationship. So now they are interfering with more than just the Earth. They are also interfering with the sun and the powerful relationship between these two immense celestial bodies. They spray all this garbage in the sky to block out the sun. They want to eject big mirrored islands into space to reflect the sun's light away from the Earth. They demonize the sun to us and tell us that it's a deadly menace to our health. Some of them even suggest that nuclear war might help because it could block out some of the sun's light. And that would be good for that weather problem that we're all suffering from, right? This is the mental state that we are dealing with. Don't you think that our human minds are just a little bit more intelligent than these wackos? See, these creatures and their minions are alien to this Earth. They do not have a heart connection, which makes them incredibly weak and incredibly stupid. Now, we humans, on the other hand, we do have a heart connection. We do have a gateway within every single one of us to the universe, its natural principles, and to the infinite creator of all that is. Now, one of the most important things that goes along with taking back our minds is restoring our self-esteem. Mr. Snake wants us to believe that we humans are utterly meaningless. All of our thoughts, our choices, and our so-called free will are not really ours. In other words, he is saying that we don't really belong to ourselves. We belong to the hidden forces and corporations who control our minds. We are useless eaters. We are told that we're so stupid that we don't even know if we're a girl or a boy or a male or a female. Even insects know this. So they want us to believe that we are dumber than bugs. Maybe that's why they say that we should eat bugs and weeds to help the climate. Because supposedly we're that stupid. See, none of this is really about the climate. It's about destroying our self-esteem as a species until there is nothing left of us. It's about justifying our destruction. And speaking of bugs and weeds, this is a perfect example of how mind control works. See, if they can convince us that we are planet-destroying losers who only deserve to eat bugs and weeds, then we will probably do just that. Because according to them, we must sacrifice ourselves for the good of the planet. Wait, where have I heard this theme before? Oh, that's right. Jesus must sacrifice himself on the cross for the good of humanity. You see how much they like this theme? I mean, they have been crucifying all of us in spirit for many, many, many years. Oh, and just like they told us to cover our faces with cloth so we can be heroes, it'll be the same thing with bugs and weeds. Eat bugs and weeds, and you too can be a hero for the earth. What utter nonsense! Now, if we collectively reject this and call it out for what it is, which is utter garbage nonsense, their little bug farms and weed factories will fade into oblivion because there won't be any takers. They will have no customers. But if we become so bereft of self-esteem that they can tell us to do stupid stuff to feel good about ourselves and become heroes, then we might fall for that manipulation. Oh, and by the way, they have already outed this so-called weather crisis as being bogus. You want to know how? Because they told us way back that we would all be dead in 12 years if we did not do their bidding. It's always 12 years. I don't know why they're so fixated on that number. But I remember over 25 years ago, they were saying we only had 12 years. So they pulled this 12 years to live card out of their pocket over and over and over again. So why don't we start keeping track of all of these 12-year threats and call them out when they don't materialize? Now, I'm pretty sure that these guys have something else in the works. I'm sure that right now they are spinning new tales of fear and woe. So it is truly imperative that we do two important things right now so that they experience the abject failure of their future plans. It needs to be crystal clear to them that they have lost control of our minds. And we do that by taking our minds back and flushing out all the propaganda. And secondly, we need to restore our natural self-esteem as a species. And we need to stop putting up with their constant emotional and psychological abuse. Humanity is a beautiful, intelligent species when we are in our natural state. We have the power to create on our own without feeding off the energy of another species. The best thing to do with alien parasites like these controllers is to starve them. We can make this earth an inhospitable place for them by depriving them of our energy and our consciousness. If we give them nothing to feed on, they will have to go elsewhere. Without the ability to hijack our minds, they have no useful purpose here. They will not be able to accomplish anything. We have the power to let them know that Earth is no longer a hospitable place for them because there's no food for them here. We can make this an energetic desert for these parasites. Now, not everyone is going to understand this, but let's not underestimate the power of the energetic signal that can be sent by those of us who do understand. You don't have to focus on sending them a signal. Just by disconnecting your mental circuitry from them, they will feel it. That's actually what they're feeling now and why they're so nervous. Just think about reactivating your heart and mind in alignment with yourself. Your renewed self-esteem, which is self-love, will emanate like a powerful beacon of love from your heart. And by disconnecting your mind from the influence of these parasitic creatures, you will feel your divine intelligence and inspiration begin to flow again. And that's kind of like a cross to Dracula. These critters will generally scurry away from the light just like little cockroaches. They don't like light. So be the light. Be who you really are. Let's make this earth a highly unpleasant place for these parasitic alien creatures. They cannot subsist at higher frequencies. They cannot feed off of high vibrational energy. By evolving and freeing ourselves, we are no longer a match to their needs. And that's what we need to accomplish. We want them to want nothing to do with us or this planet. We want them to leave and leave now. So I hope this has given you some inspiration and helped you to take some heart in this crazy situation. It's time to turn the tables on these creatures once and for all and let them know that when it comes to our minds, that they control nothing. And I also want to mention that this is energetically a perfect time to really get this for ourselves. Because on Tuesday, November 8th, we have a full moon total lunar eclipse. And the energy of that is an amplification. And it's kind of like it gives us a chance to purge, to have the vision that we need to purge. See, we always know we need to purge things within ourselves that are problematic, that are patterns that are holding us back. But we also need to purge this planetary problem that's holding back our collective evolution as a humanity, right? So we could actually, embrace that idea. And also, this eclipse can also move us into a new reality. So that could represent everything I've been talking about in this video. Taking back our minds, restoring ourselves as the powerful beings that we really are. In other words, it's really so simple, isn't it? It's just clear out the problem and restoration of who we really are, restoring our power as the beings and incredible species that we really are as biological human beings. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would like to know exactly how we can counter these awful controllers. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell because I am here every Tuesday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.